In this video, we're going to talk about French subject pronouns. I've already drawn this diagram on my paper. You can pause the video to copy this diagram into your notebook, and when you're ready to move on, unpause the video to continue taking notes. So in French, there are 9 subject pronouns. There are only 6 in English. I'm going to show you what the 9 pronouns are. I'll tell you what they mean in English, and then I will explain some of them in greater detail. So these are the subject pronouns. Zoom in for you. Okay, the subject pronouns are je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle. Did you notice that when I pronounced these, I did not pronounce the S on the end of the word? So this is nous, vous, il, elle. Also, these two sound the same as each other, il, and these two sound the same as each other, elle. The ones on the left are singular pronouns because they refer to one person. The ones on the right are plural pronouns because they refer to more than one person. The ones on the top are called first-person pronouns because they refer to the person who is speaking or writing. The ones in the middle are called second-person pronouns because they refer to the person who's listening or reading. And the ones in the third row are called third-person pronouns because they refer to someone else who's not part of the conversation. So not the person talking and not the person listening. So we would call this one first person singular. This one is second person singular. These ones are third person singular. This is first person plural, second person plural, third person plural. Okay? And we're always going to write these in this order for that reason, to keep that table in line. We're going to be writing these pronouns a lot in this class. So if you get used to this order, things will be a lot easier for you. Okay? You don't necessarily need to know these terms on the outside of the table, but if you want to know them, they're there. Okay, so what do these mean? Start with je. Je means I. Tu means you. Il means he. Elle means she. They both can also mean it. For our purposes, we're mostly going to use them both to mean he or she, but just know that sometimes they do mean it. You might be wondering, why would there be 2 words that mean it? How do you know which one to use? Well, there is a way to determine that. For now, we're just going to worry about these. And then we have on. So on is kind of the exception. On doesn't really fit under the third person category or the singular category. It's not always third person and it's not always singular. But it's treated just like il and elle when we conjugate verbs. So you'll learn how to do that later, and it'll make more sense why this is here later. But for now, just know that it goes with il and elle, and it has multiple meanings. So that's another thing that kind of makes this complicated. It can mean we in a very informal way. So if you're talking about yourself and your friends, like, should we go to the cafe? Should we go to the movies? You would use it for that. So you're just talking to some friends. It can mean one, like a person. It can mean people in general. It can mean you, and it can mean they. Now, how can it mean all these different things? Like, this is a lot. Well, these three are kind of the same. They're kind of used the same way that we would in English. So think about this. If I said to you, in France, they speak French. Well, who am I talking about? Am I really talking about specific people? No, I'm talking about French people in general. So in English, I would say they. In France, they speak French. But what I mean by they is the people in France. So it's people in general. So it doesn't really mean they when you're talking about specific people. It also can mean you in the way that we use you when we make a phrase that is very generalized, such as you can't have your cake and eat it too. I don't mean that you can't have your cake and eat it too. I mean a person can't have his or her cake and eat it too. You have to work hard to get what you want. I don't mean you have to work hard. I just mean people in general have to work hard. Okay? So on is kind of tricky, but it's also very useful if you use it right. Once you start using it, you kind of get the hang of it, and you're like, oh, I should have been doing this all along. So you should know that it's there, that it exists. For our purposes in this course, we're mostly going to be using il and elle, but you will see this sometimes on a test or a quiz. So make sure you know it. You just don't always have to use it. Okay? Then we've got the plural ones. Nous is we. So we have down here we. This is informal, which kind of implies this would be formal. For our class, this is the one you're going to use most of the time. Vous means you. And il and elle both mean they. Now, how in the heck are you supposed to decide which one to use if they both mean the same thing? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. So, let's start with this box. I want to give you more details about each of these, basically. The je is pretty straightforward. It means I, and it really never means anything else. The only thing you have to remember that's kind of special about this is that it becomes J apostrophe before a vowel. So what do I mean by that? I'll show you some example sentences. So if I say je parle anglais, j'étudie le français. So étudie is a word that starts with a vowel. So you change the je to J apostrophe. It's still pronounced je. So j'étudie le français. It still means the same thing. It's just written differently. It also becomes J apostrophe before an H. So there aren't that many verbs that you'll encounter that start with an H, but one example that you will use a lot is j'habite à Phoenix. So this is an H. So if the verb starts with an H, then the je becomes J apostrophe. So it's still pronounced je, j'habite. That's because the H is not pronounced, so we treat it kind of like a vowel, because the next letter is a vowel. Okay. Nous. I have nothing special to say about this. It means we, and that's it. That's an easy one. Tu and vous. These ones are tricky because they both mean you. And we only have one word for you in English. It's you. In French, clearly there are two words for you. So this is a concept we don't have in English. If you are a Spanish speaker, you might recognize this concept. It's the same concept as using tú and vosotros. If you are a Spanish speaker and you don't know what vosotros is, that's just because a lot of people here in the United States don't use vosotros, but it still exists. So some of you may be familiar with that. If you're not, that's okay, I'm going to explain it now. But if you are, well, then that just helps you understand this. So tu means you when you're talking to one person. So I'm going to say singular. And when that person is informal. What do I mean by informal? Well, I mean somebody that you know well. Someone like a friend or a classmate or a sibling, even a parent, someone in your family, someone you know really well. Now, you wouldn't use it for your teacher because your teacher is someone older than you and you want to be polite to them. So it's not rude to use tu. It's just very familiar. It's like you're saying, hey, we're like buddies. You don't want to be buddies with your teacher, even though here in the United States a lot of people are. In France they're not. So you wouldn't use tu with a teacher. So this would be for singular, informal people. Vous is used when you're talking to multiple people. So I'm going to say plural. So for example, if you're talking to two friends, it doesn't matter that they're informal. There's two of them, so you're going to use vous. If you're talking to the entire class, all of your classmates, like let's say you're giving a presentation and it's everyone in the class, it doesn't matter who they are or how well you know them or anything. As long as there's more than one, you're going to use vous because they're plural. Plural means more than one. But you can also use this if you're talking to one person who is formal. So, or singular formal. So this would be like one person who you want to be extra polite to. So someone like your teacher or your friend's parents, an elderly person, a stranger that you meet that you want to show some respect to, your boss, if you have one, the president, regardless of what your opinion is of him or her, anyone you want to be respectful to, you would use vous. Now that doesn't mean, I think I said this already, that doesn't mean if you use tu with your friend that you're being rude to them. But if you use tu with a teacher or your boss, that is kind of on the disrespectful side. So you is considered formal or plural. One thing that sometimes helps people remember how to use this is think of it as meaning y'all. I don't know how many of you say y'all, but I think you probably know what it means. However, there are some people who use y'all to refer to one person, so that could get kind of confusing. I'm not going to use it to mean y'all. I'm not going to put that on documents and stuff, but if that helps you remember what it means, then that's fine, because it's like you're talking to a group of people. Actually, before we move on, I would like to draw a little chart down here. So if you could go down to the bottom of your page, we're going to make a little tu versus vous chart. We're going to leave some space over here. Try to write small. You can always go onto the back page. I just want to try not to for these videos. So tu would be used if you're talking to a friend. classmate, a family member, a child, a pet. This is not an all-inclusive list, okay? These are just some ideas to help you think about the types of people you would use to with, okay? A peer, I suppose we could say that. Someone around your age. And then who would you use vous with? Well, this one's used with more people. So it could be like multiple friends, so like a group of friends. So I'm going to say 2 or more classmates. Okay, any of these people, as long as there's more than one. So both of your parents, let's say. Any group, just 2+ people. Doesn't matter who they are. But it can also be used with singular people who are formal. So who would that be? Someone like a teacher, an elder, boss, if you have one, president, the queen, anyone that you want to be extra nice to. I'm going to add one on this side. Sibling. Okay, so this was tu versus vous. And then we've got, if we go back up to the top, we've got these bottom 2 boxes to talk about. We've kind of already talked about this one, so I'm going to leave that one the way it is. But this one needs a little bit of explanation. We've got il and elle, and they both mean they. Now, how do you know which they to use? Well, we call this one they masculine, and this one they feminine. So they masculine is used with, I didn't leave myself a lot of space here, a group of all males or a group of mixed males and females. They feminine is used with a group of all females. Okay, so for example, let's say you have three girls that you're talking to, or talking about, I'm sorry. You're talking about a group of girls. Well, you would use elle because they're all female. If you're talking about a group of boys, you would use il because they're all males. If it's a group of mixed males and females, you would also use il. So let's say there's 10 girls and 1 boy. Oh, it's a mixed group, so you would use il. Okay, that one male kind of overpowers everyone else. It doesn't mean they're better than them, just linguistically, with the language, they do. So we would use il. Okay, so down in this corner, I want to kind of do a comparison between il and elle. So il would be used, I'm going to draw some pictures. Il would be used with a group of boys. So this would be a group of all males. Or it would also be used with a group of mixed males and females. I know this is very stereotypical to be putting girls in dresses. I do that so that I can provide a visual for you. I don't mean to make any stereotypes about males or females. I hope that that doesn't bother anyone. So this could be a group of mixed males and females. Okay, and it doesn't matter how many males or how many females, as long as there's at least one of each, then it would be il. Okay, and then el is used only with a group of girls. Okay, so those are the subject pronouns. I'll leave that up there for you. Those are the subject pronouns. There are no other subject pronouns. That pretty much covers everything you need to know about them. Right now, I can't think of any exceptions that I haven't mentioned. Yeah.